Hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net, and I want to give a little bit of a heads up before we do the obligatory please subscribe, comment if you happen to like this video spiel. Actually, we'll just consider that the spiel for this episode. My real upfront warning should be that the show that we're talking about and the topic at hand is going to be a little NSFW, if you will. A little spicy, if you will. And it's not a show I would normally talk about except for the circumstances of its release in America. And, well, yeah, that's pretty much where I want to go right now. So I'm not sure if this is a show that I would normally watch. I don't think it's a show I would normally recommend. I can't vouch for the quality of the show. I haven't watched it yet. We are going to talk about what the show is about and how it was brought over to America and what this actually means for streaming versus physical ownership, and is censorship coming back to anime in America. So basically, if you're a kid, you shouldn't be watching this. And if you're at work, I would proceed with caution. But let's talk about the show Interspecies Reviewers. Now, what is the show about? Well, Wikipedia describes it as, in a world where many different humanoid species exist and prostitution is legal, there exist various brothels for each kind of species run by Suku girls. As each species has different opinions on how each prostitute works for them, various brothel visitors have become reviewers, rating their experience with the various Suku girls and posting them in the local tavern. The series largely centers on a human named Stunk, an elf named Zell, and an angel named Crimvale. So, yeah, that definitely sounds like a charming series that your mom would be happy for you to watch. From what it's basically a show where a human and an elf go to these brothel taverns, have sex with these Suku girls, and rates their performance. That definitely will get people talking. That will definitely have people debating. And again, this is not a show I would typically watch. I have not seen it, for the record. I don't think I want to see it either. This seems like a show that, regardless of how good it is, I don't think I would like to watch this show. I personally, on a moral level, disagree with it. It actually kind of reminds me of like one of those dating sims in Japan where it's like you date a girl and the whole point is to basically take her clothes off and have your way with her. They kind of make their way to America, and they're one of the few games that are given AO ratings by the ESRB, but not my thing. It's not my thing. I have a real wife to, if I want to have fun. But it did cause some controversy because Funimation, who licenses everything, by the way, they put it on their website. They got through 3 episodes. And by the way, from what the reviews I was reading on like Anime News Network, who I don't want to go to because I don't want to, I don't want to give their site any traffic. But I was reading on Anime News Network, just because I was curious what they thought of the show, because they were the ones who first reported what we're about to talk about. They actually kind of liked the show. They said it was bonkers and it was crazy, and yeah, it was a little edgy, a little spicy, but they kind of liked it. They also mentioned that it was being heavily censored. Like, there were just, there was a lot of Moisiac blurring, there were scenes removed, and that I, by the way, oppose. I'm always against censorship. Now, I'm not someone who wants to watch this show, and I probably will never watch the show, but censoring it won't make me want to watch it anymore. Either I want to watch the show based on what it is, or I don't, and I don't agree with censorship. Well, I don't know what it is, whether it's woke culture, it was just too spicy for them, maybe the censoring was getting to them, but they basically dropped the series. And, yeah, you can see that image. It's pretty crazy. So anyway, Funimation has abruptly dropped the anime series Interspecies Reviewers from its platforms after only 3 episodes. Following a company review of the ecchi comedy series found that this series falls outside our standards. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but here's their full quote. Hello, Funimation user. Thank you for contacting Funimation support. We appreciate your business. After careful consideration, the series was removed from the service as it falls outside of our standards. We have the utmost respect for our creator, so rather than substantially alter the content, we felt taking it down was the most respectful choice. Please know if you have any other questions or concerns. So based on this email that this person received, the series wasn't taken down necessarily because it was too spicy. It was taken down because they felt they had to edit it. They had to edit it, and they had to removed too much of it, and they felt it was disrespectful to the creators. And who knows, maybe the creators even said something about the way they were editing this show. Maybe they felt like this was not working for them. The question I have now at this point, and here's the screenshot, and this is what concerns me. It was bothering me that Funimation was editing this show. It was. If they really felt like they couldn't release it uncut, they should not have released it at all. But they did. And they started releasing it. And they started doing the simul-dub and sub, and now they just pulled it. The question, of course, then remains, like, what happens to that show? There are fans of it. I mean, outside of piracy, how are they going to watch the show? It's it's a strange thing. And also makes you wonder what happens to like shows like this, Rosario Vampire, which, while not as bad as the other show, definitely has like a lot of fan service. Heck, if you go to the Funimation Now, they have a section dedicated just to fan service. Let's click on that and see exactly what we get. Interestingly, Dragon Ball is there. Oh, and there's Interspecies Reviewers. So what happens when you click on it? Like that, this would be interesting. Sorry, but the page you're looking for doesn't exist. So yeah, they did remove it from their website. But yeah, like look at this. Hensuki, are you willing to fall in love with a pervert as long as she's a cutie? That sounds like a real family-friendly show. Date Alive. Shimoneta, a boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist. And you thought there is never a girl online. And look, Rosario Vampire. You have Freezing, Miss Caretaker of Sunohara Sao. My first girlfriend is a gal. Baka and Test, Sky Wizards Academy. Is this a zombie? Why is Dragon Ball listed with all of these? I mean, Dragon Ball definitely has some saucy jokes in it, but it's nowhere near what some of these things are. My question is at this point, what happens to all of these shows? Because it needs to be mentioned. And by the way, I disagree that Free is considered a fans. Well, maybe it is. Maybe, I don't know. I do know that in Japan, this Interspecies Reviewer show was a problem. And in Japan, they actually were releasing it in two versions. They were releasing a censored version and an uncut version. Now, it's totally possible that Funimation was releasing the censored version, but from what I have gathered, they were censoring it more. Like, even the censored version was too hot for Funimation. And Funimation's kind of like in a weird position with their streaming service, because their service is not a family. They release, obviously, a lot of adult shows like MA, 14, MA, 14, and MA. So, you know, they're definitely they're definitely putting adult stuff out there. However, they also do some fairly family-friendly shows as well. Look, let's go to fantasy, since I know what some of these shows are in here. Like Dragon Ball Z, kids watch that. Fairy Tail, families watch that. Sword Art Online, teenagers watch that. And Fruits Basket, that's popular with young girls. So Funimation's channel does have a lot of family-friendly shows. Dragon Ball GT. Yeah, whatever. And so when people subscribe to them, by the way, definitely use the parental filter tool. It's really important. But Funimation's kind of in like a rock and a hard place with this, because their channel has both the family and the adult. And once you start removing one show because it falls outside your standard, and you don't even know what that standard is, it brings into question, what about all these other shows? Like, what do you do with those shows that are not family-friendly, that are not politically correct, that might need to be censored a little bit more because people will be offended? I mean, I personally live by the rule that if you don't want to watch a show, you simply don't watch it. You remove yourself from that situation. You do not engage. But we are definitely at this point where people are offended by a lot of things, and what's Funimation going to do about this? What are they going to do with all these shows? I'm just kind of curious what's on number 3. But so I think Funimation, and again, I don't want to defend the show itself. It doesn't sound like a good show. I've heard good things about it. It doesn't seem like it's my type of show though. But Funimation might have to actually split up their streaming services a bit. I think the best middle of the road compromise, and I know this is going to frustrate people because it just means more money, but they're going to need to just split up the packages. Like, they're going to have Funimation Now, and maybe something like, I don't know, Funimation After Dark. And what they would do is they would remove all of the mature audience rated shows, like anything that's R rated, and maybe even some of the more saucy TV 14 rated, PG 13 rated shows. Like, no, that's MA. This one looks a little spicy. Like this one, no, that's PG, so that can't be too bad. But see, I'm trying to think of like what's like a spicy show. Heaven's Lost Property, no, that's MA. But anyway, I'm losing off track. So what they might need to do is all the mature rated shows and maybe certain TV 14 rated shows need to be taken off the Funimation Now streaming service. They could be put on this hypothetical Funimation After Dark streaming service, or Funimation Adult, whatever, or Funimation X. That's actually a catchy title. And then you can put not only all those shows on there, but then you could do this spicy series, this Interspecies Reviewers. You can do it uncut, in fact, because the people subscribing to that service acknowledge that they are over the age of 18 and that they want their entertainment a little bit more saucy. They could probably charge like a lower fee for this one since there's not as much content, maybe $4 a month, and the Funimation Now can be $6 a month. Or they could charge $6 a month for both of them, and then like do like a little bundle. So if you want both, you can switch between one and the other. I don't know. I do know that this sets a pretty ugly precedent. Funimation used to actually be at the forefront of censoring. When they brought Dragon Ball Z over to America, people did not like the censoring of that show, and people fought for years to get it uncut. We finally did get it uncut, and Funimation decided they wanted to be a big anime player, and one of the ways they did that was they didn't censor. They did not censor unless it was absolutely necessary. Like with Kodocha, they had to like remove like some certain clips and certain audio portions because of licensing issues, but that's forgivable. This was something that they probably didn't know what they were doing with. So they started airing it, they started censoring it, nobody liked that it was censored, and then at some point they decided, because of either they were disrespecting the art or they were just censoring it too much, people were just too offended by it, they decided to remove it from their platform. And it kind of makes me wonder what's going to happen with it now. Are they going to release it on Blu-ray? I mean, they have the license. I'd do something with it. Maybe this will have to be a Blu-ray exclusive, and fans would really want to buy that because, guess what? It can't be taken away. This is one of the reasons why streaming is so problematic for me, because here's the thing. Had they started releasing this on DVD and Blu-ray, let's play out the alternate scenario, and they got through a couple releases and decided they didn't want to do this anymore. Well, if you bought it, they can't take it away from you. It's yours. Now the series is taken away from everyone, and we don't know if you're going to see it again. Now you have to pirate it. And it's just one more thing where it's like, do you want to give the companies this kind of control? I mean, I'm disappointed that I think Funimation should never have touched this in the first place. Like, they should have at least had access to the first episode. And if they said that, hey, we have to start editing this because we don't feel comfortable with it, maybe that's a sign that you shouldn't have licensed it. Because apparently it just kept getting worse. And by the time episode 4 came along, I bet you someone watched it and they were like, dude, we can't deal with this anymore. We have to just get rid of it. But I don't know. That sets a dangerous precedent because, especially since we don't know why it was taken off. I mean, if it was because like a bunch of people were watching the show and they were offended by it and they started like tweeting at Funimation, because tweet campaigns do work with Funimation. They will do some pretty extreme things if you tweet at them enough times. I don't know, but where does that leave these other shows? Like, I mean, again, they have a section on their website for fan service. I mean, that's literally saying like, hey, all you perverts, come here, watch the fan service. Is that going to have to go? Because that's not politically correct. That's not being woke. And will they start editing more? I don't know. I just don't like this at all. Now, if, for the record, if they end up bringing the show back, I'm still not going to watch it because I don't care. This does not look like something I want to watch. I've always been against censorship, and and I don't like when companies pull content, when they say, hey, we don't feel you should watch this, so we're going to pull it, taking the control out of the consumer's hands on what they can and can't watch. That's where this whole thing concerns me. But anyway, that's where I'm gonna close this one. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. In fact, hey, you know what? If you've seen this show, tell me, is it really as bad as I'm reading it, or is it actually pretty good? I don't think I'll watch it one way or the other, but I'm kind of curious if anyone likes this thing. So anyway, yeah, let me know in the comments below. Take care.